homeopathic treatment. Out of all the alternative therapies I cover, this is the one where I really just roll my eyes and laugh because, I'm sorry, homeopathy is ridiculous. The other therapies might be helpful in various ways, but homeopathy is, there's really nothing to it. It's a philosophy that was developed in Germany in the late 1700s. And it's based on the idea that the body has the ability to heal itself. Now that is true. Our bodies are very self-healing. But what the creator of homeopathy came up with was that the idea of like cures like. So if a certain substance causes a symptom in a healthy person, their idea would be that you give a very small amount of the same substance to cure the illness. And in theory, they were on the right track. That's what we do with vaccines. We take a very, very tiny amount of the outer coat of a virus, or we take a certain amount of a protein from a bacteria or a toxin, and we neutralize it, and we add substances that will allow the body to use it, and we inject it into a person to fool the body into thinking they've been exposed to it, so they come up with antibodies. This is not how homeopathy works. So they say, okay, maybe hay. You got a farmer who starts sneezing and coughing and has an asthma attack when they smell hay. So you take a very, very tiny piece of hay and you put it in water and you process it. And if that's all it was to it, I'd say, okay, well, that's the early idea of allergy treatments. But homeopathy operates under the idea that the more diluted something is, the more powerful it is. So they might put an onion in water because it makes your eyes water. So they think, oh, this would be good for allergies. So they put an onion and chop it up and boil it in water. And then they take that water and they dilute it. And then they take a little bit of that water and they dilute it further. And supposedly the more diluted it is, the better it works. And that's where it stops having any sense to it and just becomes ridiculous. So now the homeopathic therapies that they sell, it's basically sugar water, because you've got things that are so diluted, even if there's a fraction of the original active molecules, there's so little in there that you're just not really getting any benefit. So it's just kind of silly. This is a cartoon that you can see on your slide. Look at this: acupuncture, aromatherapy, herbal tea. We could be dealing with a homeopathic killer. So that's supposed to give you a chuckle. Now, when it comes to herbal therapies and supplements, this is different than the homeopathy. Homeopathy is a tiny amount of something diluted over and over again, mixed in special vials, and it's supposed to do something. Herbal therapy is very valid, and if it weren't for herbal therapy, we wouldn't have a lot of the medications we have now. Unfortunately, the safety of herbal treatments are not regulated anywhere in the world. Germany is the country that comes closest, and even they have a lot of leeway in their treatments. There is a lack of real scientific study behind a lot of these herbal therapies. The kind of study I talked about in chapter 2 with the placebo-controlled double-blind testing. The only thing we have as far as being able to account for what herbal therapies do are just years and years and years and years of anecdotes about people who have gotten good results from using certain herbs. And it certainly was a valuable part of every medicine chest throughout history. But like the plants and animal products that gave us the pretty powerful medications we have today, herbs have a lot of potency that can interfere with meds we're already taking. In 1994, the FDA cracked down a little bit on what claims herbal medicinal makers could come up with. And it was called the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act of 1994. And prior to that, people could produce something and sell it on the shelves of a health food store or sell it outside of a store and make claims that it can help to cure a particular disease or help you lose weight, something like that. Once the FDA cracked down, you were still able to sell it, but you had to change it from saying, yeah, this is going to cure cancer. And instead, it can make a more general statement about how it might work in the body. So instead of saying, this will help prevent cancer, the product is then going to say, this supports cell health and help possibly control abnormal cell division or something like that, real general. One thing that has been discovered fairly recently is that the cases of liver failure from taking unproven supplementation is on the rise. And I got this story from consumerreports.org. And Consumer Reports is a pretty good service. When you see .org, that means that it is a nonprofit. So the people who report on different goods and services are really not making a profit from this. So it's a pretty neutral publication. And this is talking about people who use herbal supplements. And I think the one this article's specifically talking about are those green tea supplements. And because they claim to maybe support nutrition and weight loss, more women are coming up with liver failure because of taking some of these products. So it's a very interesting article. The product can make just general statements about the function in the body. A lot of these different herbs have a lot of folk acceptance. Traditionally, our mothers and grandmothers might have used various herbal supplements and gotten good results for them. They tend to be cheaper. There are usually not barriers to buying them. So, people who are a little bit nervous about making a doctor's appointment, having to sit and wait in the waiting room, having to pay a copay, and then having to get a medication that may or may not have serious side effects, they would prefer to just walk into a health food store and buy a substance.